Welcome, lovely listeners, to Soul Stirred, stories of growth and the human experience. I'm Emily Garcia.
And I'm Casey Clark.
We will be your guides on this journey. We are so glad you are here.
Each week we'll come together, sometimes with other incredible thinkers, creators, and adventurers, to generously share stories of self-discovery, recovery, triumph, and what it means to live a life on purpose.
No matter where you are in your own journey, connection is here for you at Soul Stirred.
Settle in, take a deep breath in, and let's inspire each other.
Welcome to Soul Stirred. Hello, friends. Casey and I decided that we were going to do something a little bit different with Soul Stirred, and we are going to sometimes be together. Sometimes we're going to be separate and recording some solo episodes. And part of this is because there's so many things that go on in our minds, and we wanted to be able to talk to you when things come up. So today I'm recording my first ever solo episode. This episode is about leadership. Leadership is something that most people who have been a manager or a leader in any capacity have talked about, have learned about, but it's unique for everyone. And I wanted to talk about my journey as a leader. Leadership, of course, isn't just in a role. It's not when you are hired with a title. It really is something that happens over time and in the small moments. Being a leader means that you show up a certain way, that you show care for people. And that might be in your personal life or in your professional life. Part of what being a leader means to me is that I am someone who people can trust and who they can come to with questions. I'm someone who can help people grow. But I'm going to tell you about my first experience as an actual leader with a title. Back before I started Tribe and was really on my own path as a small business owner, I worked for over a decade in community mental health. I had gone to grad school. I had worked in community mental health, then child welfare, went to grad school. My first job outside of grad school, I got a job as a therapist working in a middle school in Denver. And it was tough. It's funny because now I supervise interns and I supervise newly licensed therapists. And so many of the things they talk about that they worry about, that they struggle with, resonate with me because I had a very similar experience. I remember doubting myself and thinking I didn't know if I could do the job, that I didn't know if I had enough of a skill set to be a therapist and to actually do work that could help other people. There was one point 6 months into my job as a therapist in this middle school when I called a caregiver. I think it was an aunt or a grandmother who the kiddo was living with, and the school had referred this kid to me. I called them to talk to the family and get, men to sign paperwork and give me consent, and I got cussed out. The woman on the other line said, "I want you to stop effing calling me. You've been calling me over and over." She was very angry, and I had never called her before, had zero contact with her prior to this call, but she was very angry, hung up on me, slammed the phone down, and I put my phone back and sat and cried. And I thought, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, but that was a turning point. And I say that was a turning point because even though I doubted myself and wasn't sure if I could do the work, something happened like within a few days of that call that suddenly I felt like I had kind of up leveled. And it wasn't because of the call. Believe me, I don't want to get cussed out or yelled at by anyone, but it was right around that time when I started to kind of feel like, okay, I understand what I'm doing and why I'm here. That has happened many times in my career. I feel like every time you start to think you know what you're doing and you get comfortable, there is a new challenge and it doesn't feel good. But that has shown up not only in my life as a therapist, as a wife, as a mom, but also as a leader. What happens is we grow and we start to gain some skills. They're uncomfortable. We start to figure it out by doing things over and over or figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And then you hit a point where you realize, oh, maybe I'm not that good. And there's some imposter syndrome that kicks in. I also want to say that the people who have imposter syndrome are actually the ones who are more capable, because if you don't have any imposter syndrome, if you walk around life feeling like, oh, I got it, no problem. I know that, I know that, I know that. There's a term for it, the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect are those people who act like they know everything. They know everything about everything you should be doing, and you're doing it wrong, and you need to do it their way. And they actually don't really know anything. The opposite of that are the people who really know. And when you really know, you realize there's so much you don't know. So that's when imposter syndrome kicks in. In fact, I always like to talk about 3 people who most people know about who have had imposter syndrome and are famous they have some famous quotes about their imposter syndrome and what happens for them. One is Maya Angelou. After she published her 12th book, she said that she thought at some point, maybe at this time after this book, they're going to find out I'm a fraud. Meryl Streep has said that she's actually not a great actor and she's just waiting for people to figure it out. And Albert Einstein was also quoted as saying something about he wasn't that great and he didn't know why people thought he was. So if you know Maya Angelou, Meryl Streep, or Albert Einstein, and you know that they had self-doubt and some imposter syndrome, of course, why don't we all have it? Here's the thing. When you are a leader, you are faced with all of your stuff. I've seen these things online recently about, as a business owner, all of the things that are going on inside of you and your unresolved stuff will come up. It's true as a leader as well. For example, when people leave my team, when they decide that tribe isn't the best place for them and they want to go somewhere else, that's where the abandonment or rejection wound can come up. When you are a leader who's doing the work, you recognize that. Of course, I never want people who I adore to leave. Some leaders will get mad at people. They'll take it out on them. They'll punish them for leaving. And that's because of their wounds. I really do try to recognize when people are leaving my team. I'm sad to see them go, but it is actually my job as a leader to help them grow and help them figure out what's next so they can succeed and be a leader in their own life. It's not always that simple. Sometimes there's a little bit of like, I got to be sad before I can be happy for them. But I don't ever want to be the person that takes it out on people, because we're not meant to stay in one place forever. We're meant to grow. The other thing that can come up as a leader is just all of your self-doubt. When things are going wrong or they're not going as you would like, the team can come and talk to you. And that's when it can feel like, oh God, I've messed up. I should know more. Why am I not better at this? But it's just a journey and you're figuring it out. It's really important to know that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the one with all of the answers. It's been a really humbling experience with me as a leader to realize that I'm surrounded by really smart people, very smart, very capable people. Sometimes they know more than I do, and I should go to them to get the answers. The great thing about that is it takes the pressure off of me. I don't have to be the one that knows everything about everything, because I don't. It would be a complete lie if I pretended that I knew. So I get to hand things over to other people sometimes and say, hey, ask this person on the team, or put it out to the team, or let me do some research. I'll see and I'll get back to you. It feels good to know that I don't have to figure it all out. I want to go back to when I was hired as a manager of my old team. After being a therapist on my team for a long time, about 7.5 years, a manager who I loved left her role at our agency. And at that point, the team turned to me and said, Emily, we think you need to take that job. I had never had any desire to manage other people or to be in, a quote unquote leadership role. So at first I said, no, thanks. I'm not interested in that. But then as I was talking to my team, I realized if I didn't step up, we had no idea who was going to come in. And it wasn't just my team that was coming to me. There were other people who were in leadership higher up in my agency who came and said, Emily, I think you need to be the one that applies. When you're in that situation and people come to you to tell you what they see, you have to acknowledge it. You at least have to take some time to consider what they're saying, even if you decide that it's not right for you. There I was. I decided to apply. I updated my resume. I went through all of the interviews. I interviewed with my team. I interviewed with the panel of managers and did the entire process, and I was offered the job. It was scary. It was exciting. I got into it, and I'm a couple of months in, and I met with the VP of my department. And when I met with her, I needed to go over numbers. Like, what are the numbers? How many clients are my team seeing? Are they getting their notes done on time? That kind of thing. And there were people on my team who were great, who were, seeing all of their clients. They were getting their notes in. Everything was taken care of. And then there were people who were not. These were people that I didn't actually know what they were doing all day. It appeared that they were working, but I didn't have any proof of it because, as they say, if it's not written, it didn't happen. So nothing was documented about seeing clients. But I say to my VP, I'm sure they're doing it. Let me talk to them. We'll get it figured out and it'll be fine. I'll report back to you. It'll be okay. She turned to me and she said, Emily, I'm going to tell you this now. It's something that's going to be really hard for you, but you are going to find that people don't work like you do. They don't always have the same work ethic, and you are going to find out. I didn't believe her. I thought everyone works like me. Of course, if you tell someone that there's something they're supposed to do, they're just going to do it because that's their job. Well, spoiler alert, she was right. There were people that no matter how many conversations I had with them, no matter how much encouragement I gave them, no matter what I said to get them moving, they just weren't doing their job. And I was the face of it. As the manager of a team, I had to report back to my upper leadership and say, I don't know what they're doing. It felt pretty bad because it reflected poorly on me. And I realized that rather than being the person doing the job, the therapist who, if I needed to do something, I could just get it done, I couldn't get it done. I couldn't do other people's jobs for them. Well, time went on. Some issues persisted, some improved, but there were people who just continued to not do their jobs. And then there was more pressure because if you're not seeing clients and you're not billing, there's not enough money coming in to actually pay for your position. So I was getting squeezed in between leadership saying, you need to get this done. You need to get people out if they're not doing their jobs, and caring about people wanting to believe the best in them. And I had zero training on how to do any of this. I had never read a leadership book before becoming a manager. I hadn't gone to a leadership training. I didn't actually know what I was doing. I was figuring it out completely on the go. Then I'm 3.5 years in to this role as a manager, going home and at least once a week crying, saying, I hate my job. I was miserable. That's when one night I went to dinner with my husband and he asked me how my week had gone. And we're in the middle of a restaurant. We're at like these 3 raised booths that are right in the center of the restaurant. He asked me that simple question, how was your week? And I start crying, like I can't contain it, kind of crying. And the shame I felt because I had been asked by my team, I had been asked by other people in leadership, and I had committed to running a team and thought I could do it well. I thought I could do the job if I put my mind to it. So I felt shame because I was not doing a very good job. In fact, what I have since learned is that a team will match the level of the worst person on it. So if you as a leader allow your team, or you allow one person on your team to get away with not doing their job, whether other people know the facts about it and the details about it or not, they will start to feel like that's the level of expectation and they will match it. So my team was matching expectation. And then there were some people on my team who were pretty angry because they did know they were working hard. They were doing everything they should do, but they weren't getting rewarded for it. A year after that conversation with my husband, I ended up leaving my full-time W-2 manager position. I was a year into Tribe at that point. It was terrifying because here I was leaving a job where I had a salary and benefits, and I was starting off on my own and thinking, I'm never, ever in my life going to manage people again because I suck at it. No one likes me. It's a freaking lonely position to be in because no one understands where you are, and no one's going to come to the manager and praise them, nor should they. It's not anyone's job to say, hey, you're doing a good job. So you have to, and you're in a leadership position, be able to have some positive self-talk, talk yourself through the hard things like this isn't the end, it's temporary. You have to have some tools. You have to know how to lead and what to do in positive situations, how to celebrate people, but then also how to hold them accountable. And you also have to have your own support system. You need to have people who get it, who have also been leaders and understand how lonely it is when you're in that position, who you can go to and talk to. Otherwise, there's no one that you will feel connected with. So I start Tribe. I'm by myself. I think, okay, this is pretty good. I'll tell you what, that relief the last night of my job at my old agency, I was putting laundry in the washing machine and had this wave of relief come over me. I can't even describe the way it felt, but in that instance, I knew I had made the right choice. I was now responsible for me, responsible for my own actions, getting my work done, and earning my own income. Scary and very exciting at the same time. Over time, Tribe has organically grown. It started off with maybe 6 months after I left that job. Rachel, who I had worked with at the job, she actually had been a therapist before me and had trained me. We were both in management. I left. She calls me 6 months later and says, hey, I'm thinking about leaving to do private practice. Can I pick your brain? Rachel and I have a conversation. We start talking about it. And I said, Rachel, do you think you want to just join me? She said, I think so, but let me think about it. So she processed, she talked to her family, she called me back and she said, I do want to join you. Thank goodness for her. Thank goodness for her taking a leap of faith, because not only did she take a chance on me, but by her joining me, it helped me to start to believe in myself as a leader again. I then had someone who I trusted, who I really enjoyed being around, who I could lead, but also I could let her be autonomous. I could let her do her job. And I knew that I could trust her to get things done and do the best thing possible for her clients, for Tribe, for herself. Since that time, Tribe has organically grown. It's amazing. There are now 16 of us on the team, and it has been 6.5 years since I started it. I won't go into all the details about hiring, but I will say that now, at this point in my leadership journey, I have found that the people you surround yourself with are so important. I am surrounded, fortunately, by a really diverse and cool team. Everyone has their own interests. They have their own passions, their own wisdom, life experience, skill set. And they're all people who do the work because they want to and because they really care. And I've continued to grow as a leader. I'm constantly reading. Sometimes it's books about leadership, like, Dare to Lead. Sometimes it is a book like Grit by Angela Duckworth, which I'm in the middle of reading right now. Sometimes it's books about therapy. Sometimes it is, a fiction to break up the monotony of the nonfiction. And then I try out new things. Here's something really cool that just happened for me recently. It's super important to surround yourself with people who get it as a leader. Well, my journey in being a leader, I have found people who I really trust and get to talk to about all of the different things. I have my friend Christina, who is the producer of this show. She is also a business coach and full of wisdom. I have amazing people on my team who I get to talk to, but don't always talk to them about the personal things or, the behind the scenes things that are coming up. I'm in a monthly peer advisory panel hosted by Mary Gall, who's a business coach who was on an earlier episode. And the women who are in this panel with me are incredible. I'm not going to name everything. I do networking and I'm part of a chamber and I just put myself out there to be honest with people because you need people who you can talk to. But here's the cool thing. The Greater Arvada Chamber of Commerce held an EOS core values workshop. I signed up for it, went to it. I had been talking to my team about really defining our tribe core values. So, we had this list. I signed up to go to this workshop. The workshop was great. It helped me to really go, what are core values and how do you actually use them? Because if you know anything about core values, they're not meant to be aspirational. They are supposed to be, how do we show up when we're at our best? So I define them. I kind of write out like, here are the things that are going on with our core values. Since then, we've started doing a program where we nominate people on the team. We just started this month with these nominations, and it's super, super cool to hear people on our team talk about, here's what I'm seeing with someone else, what they're doing. And there is this culture that is being nurtured and connection between people. Because I attended that core values workshop, I was entered into a drawing to attend a leadership summit hosted by MIBE. That's MIBE. Make It Better Every Day is what they're called. And I won. So I got to go to this really cool leadership summit. I heard great speakers. I did all this cool stuff. And I just feel like that's sort of a sign of all the things that can happen. I'm in this place where I don't think I have to. I think I get to. I get to run tribe. I get to be surrounded by people who I really, really like and appreciate. I get to be part of a community and do all these things I enjoy. And because I have this I get to mentality, I find that more and more good things keep showing up in my life. And maybe that's, it's my reticular activation system or my RAS that's recognizing things because I'm looking for them. And so I'm finding them. I know I have so much more to learn and there is so much more growth ahead of me as a leader, but I really love where I am. It's such a cool place to be in. So I feel like I'm going to end this recording and a million other thoughts are going to come to my mind about what I could have said. Maybe that's the next recording or one in the future, but I'm grateful you joined me today.
Are you looking for hope, healing, and real connection on the journey through sex addiction or betrayal trauma? LitPath is inviting you to join us June 25th to 27th in Nashville for the CSBD Hope for Healing Conference, the nation's leading event focused on awareness, recovery, and reducing stigma. This conference is for individuals in recovery, partners and couples seeking healing, and clinicians or coaches looking for advanced training and continuing education credit. Hear from leading experts, experience powerful sessions, and connect with a community that truly understands.
Hi there, this is Tim Stein.
I'm Dr. Jake Porter.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Vitale.
Visit csbdhopeforhealing.org. That's csbdhopeforhealing.org. Use code PODHOPE25 for an exclusive 25% discount. Break the silence. Reduce the stigma. Find hope and healing. We'll see you there.
Stirred listeners, thank you so much for joining us today as we bring you stories of growth in the human experience. We appreciate you, and we have a request for you. If you will, take 30 seconds to do these 3 things for us. 1, follow or subscribe to Soul Stirred Podcast. This makes sure you never miss an episode and helps us to make sure you never miss an episode. Head over to your preferred platform, click the Soul Stirred Podcast show page, and click the plus sign or the follow button. Second, we'd love it if you could give us a 5-star rating while you're there. Finally, choose your favorite episode and share it with a friend.
We are so grateful to all of our listeners for your continued support helping Soul Stirred grow and ultimately inspire others through authentic connection. Don't hesitate to reach out with ideas, stories, or questions. We are always eager to hear from you. Our email and social links are found in every episode's show notes. Until next time, keep stirring your soul and embracing your journey.
Take good care of yourselves and of each other. Bye-bye.